Hey there. Today we're going to talk about credibility scores, not credit scores, credibility. As we come into tax season and we're thinking all about whether we're getting money back or not, and maybe where we stand financially, we're going to talk about credibility. And it's very different than a credit score. So, welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. My name is Erik Orton.
I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth, family connection, raising adult kids, because our goal is to help you make your midlife as meaningful as possible.
So I want to go back to, I don't know when it was, 2013, I think. In 2013, our oldest child was 14 years old, and she had been hearing us talk about our big dream to live on a sailboat for, as a family for a year. I think she'd been hearing about it for 3 years at that point.
Yep.
And at the breakfast table, she said, "Do you really have the guts to do this?" And it was a good question. She kind of held our feet to the coals. She's like, "I've been hearing a lot of talk about this, and yet here we still are 3 years later in our apartment around our dinner table having this conversation." And it was pretty obvious that if we wanted to remain trustworthy or credible with her, that we were going to need to take more action than what we had taken. And we had been taking steps. I don't want to give like the entire story, but we had taken sailing classes in our neighborhood and even in the Caribbean, and we had gotten certified to charter boats, which means we can take it out on our own. But anyway, we kind of felt like, hey, we are doing stuff. She's like, well, we still are not doing the thing. We are not living on a boat, which is what you're talking about. Are we actually going to do it? Do you really have the guts? And it was a credibility check for us.
For sure. And so just to be clear about what a credibility score is it is the ratio between the things that you say you'll do and the things that you actually do.
Don't Google it because we made this up.
Yeah, it's not in the dictionary. But a credibility score is the ratio between the things that you say you'll do and the things that you actually do. So if you always do the things that you say you'll do, you have a 1-to-1 credibility score.
That would be 100%.
100%. Very good. Good on math. And if you only did 1 in 10 of the things that you said you would do, you'd have a 1-to-10 credibility score, or a 10-to-1. We never really decided which number goes on which side of the colon, but that's the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple ways that you can boost your credibility score. And here they are. Sorry.
Well, at first I want to just like, why would you care what your credibility score is? Like, obviously, you with a credit score, it doesn't matter in most situations in your life, but it does matter for certain things. So, what credibility score can matter in a lot more areas. So, what's the good of having a good credibility score?
First of all,
we can talk more about it later as well, but just initially,
I just think initially it's about trust. And a high credibility score means that people believe you when you say you're going to do something. And I think the benefits to that are that you get the good energy of their confidence. And also people trust you with resources. Mm-hmm. They also will bring to you opportunities that might be in the service of what you say you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one of the benefits of a high credibility score with other people. Mm-hmm. I think the real benefit of a high credibility score is the trust that you have in yourself. Mm-hmm. Because as I'm fond of saying, the size of your dreams is proportionate to how much you trust yourself. And so if you trust yourself based on credibility, meaning that you have repeatedly done things that you say you wanted to do, then your ability to think, imagine, and plan for a much more interesting and exciting future for yourself, the ability to do that is strengthened and heightened. And so you then get to live a much more interesting life based on the things that you want to pursue.
And when you talked about credibility with other people, and in this case, it was credibility with our kids.
Yeah.
So as a parent, having a high say to do ratio or a high credibility score goes a long way, especially as your kids become teenagers or adults. They say, "Oh, my parents said they were going to be here. They said they were going to do these things. They did those things." My parents say, "This is what I value," and then they actually live in accordance with that value system. That gets a lot of trust from the kids who are old enough to see what's going on, and to recognize our hypocrisies, which seems to be their special gift to help bring us into
Thank you,
a
children.
higher credibility, because they recognize it and they'll call us out. And when they see too big of a gap, then they don't trust us, and that's when we kind of lose standing in the relationship.
I think the stereotypical example in my mind of the parent with a low credibility score is I had a couple of friends when I was younger, like junior high age, and their parents were divorced. And one of my friends, he had a dad who did not have custody of him, and so he wouldn't see him very often, and was always making big promises of like, "Oh, I'm going to
Mm.
bring you this thing, or we're going to go on this trip, or we're going to go do this cool activity, and or I'm just going to show up for your special whatever it is, sporting event, presentation," and then just consistently didn't do those things.
Mm.
And I just saw in my friend kind of the light dimming in his regard. It was his dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I just saw kind of the light dimming in his trust, and I don't want to say love, but just his ability to open himself up to his father. It really diminished that relationship in his life because his father was not trustworthy in the sense of he didn't do what he would say he would do. His
Yeah.
credibility score was low. And so I think it affects how our kids come to us or don't come to us based on how much we do or don't do what we say we will. That's one
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. I think that's a great example of it. My mom used to always say, in a relationship, trust is more important than love.
Mm-hmm.
The love can be there, but like different behaviors are going to be contingent upon whether I believe what you say, or that I believe you're going to do what you said you were going to do, or that I see consistency within your own being, right? So, yeah, it's not a happy example, but it is a true example. And in fact, it reminds me that there are a few ways that you can improve your credibility score. If it's a ratio between what you say and what you do, you can either commit to fewer things so that you can
Yes.
actually do the ones that you say. You can stop saying you're going to do things and then not do that. You can say, like, I wish I could be there, but I won't.
I think let's talk about that because there's
Yeah.
three ways to raise your credibility score.
Oh, okay.
One way is to do the thing that you say you're going to do.
Just, yeah, if you said you're going to do it, just do it. And then your score goes right up.
Boom. Just do the thing that you say you're going to do. The other ways that you just pointed out is to stop saying that you're going to do things and just stop overcommitting yourself or committing yourself to things that you're actually not interested in or not planning to do. And so just saying fewer things makes it easier.
Yeah.
So you can increase your do number, you can decrease your say number. And then there's this middle ground that I think is important. And that is the attempting. Because sometimes we try and do things and we just don't pull it off. And that's okay. And I think when we're talking about kids, especially, so often as parents, we want to deliver. We want to do the thing that we say we're going to do. We want to show up. We want to make it happen, whatever it is. But the saving grace is that we get points for trying. When our kids see us trying to do something, they're like, okay, I see mom or I see dad making the effort, and I applaud that. I honor that. I respect that.
I appreciate it, right? I see you're making an effort and I appreciate that you're making the
Yeah.
effort.
And so I think I'll go to my dad, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you're listening, Dad, how's it going?
We love
We
you.
love you. And I know that my dad has a lot of things that as he gets older, he wants to improve about his life. He wants to be stronger and more fit. And he gets out there, he was an avid backpacker for decades and was just always just kind of like a horse in terms of like power and
Stamina.
reliability and stamina. And And now that he's in his 80s, it takes a different kind of effort. And so when my dad gets out there and he's walking around with his trekking poles,
working out at CrossFit,
doing what he can, I applaud him. I know that he's not where he wants to be, but I am proud of him for making the effort. And so if you're a parent who's not where you want to be yet with your own personal goals or things that you've said you want to do, if you're making an effort, I think your kids are going to applaud you.
yeah, I think you get a lot of points for that. And I also want to just looking at the dynamic relationship between parents and kids, and we know there's such a high percentage, almost a quarter of adult kids are estranged in some way from their family, to maybe give you some language like the effort does matter and the intention does matter, but it doesn't always yield the result that we hope for. And sometimes our best isn't good enough, and it's okay that it's not good enough.
Or it may not be good enough for them.
For the kid, it may be like, I did my best and it didn't meet your need. I did my best as a parent and it didn't meet your need as my child, and or whatever relationship you're in, you could apply this to. And it's really important to acknowledge that for the other person to hear that you recognize that it was your best, but that it wasn't good enough for them, that it didn't meet the need that they had. And it's okay that they still have that need. And you're not trying to say, well, you have to accept my offering as sufficient because it was my best. It's okay to say, like, you need more than what I'm able to give you. And instead of just insisting, like, well, you must accept my offering. And that was very helpful for me. When I came across that idea, I thought, hey, I have always recognized that my parents have done their best and I have always honored that. But then it meant there was a part of me that didn't get what I felt I needed, that I had to just kind of pretend didn't exist. And like, oh no, it's okay. I can honor that they're doing their best and have no judgment against, them. I think that's awesome. And I really appreciate it. But I also can still then go and look to other sources to get my needs met.
I think
I don't want to go too deep, but just it's a good thing that you can say, like, hey, I did my best and I know that wasn't everything that you needed, and I hope you can get what you need.
Well, I know that you really encouraged me in this area one time when I was a younger father and I was struggling to feel successful. I was working and providing for the family, and I also had some creative goals. We were living in New York, and I was working in theater and had been successful, but not in all the ways that I wanted, and was still, many years in, still trying to make things happen. And maybe you can remember the conversation better, but I just remember saying to you, what am I showing my kids? Because I feel like I'm showing them what failure looks like.
I remember you sitting at that white desk.
Can you fill in from there?
And I said, you're showing them what it looks like to pursue your dreams, and that to pursue your dreams takes persistent effort over long periods of time.
Yeah. I really appreciated that, because if you're a listener, if you're like me, you may not be succeeding in all the ways that you want, but by making the effort, by being persistent, by being tenacious, by being steady, that counts. That matters. And so, maybe one way we increase our what's the word again?
Credibility score.
I want to say probability. Yeah, our credibility score is, maybe we say, instead of saying I'm going to do this thing, you can say I'm going to start doing this thing, or I'm going to attempt doing this thing. And just by making the effort, you're actually doing the thing you say you'll do. And
that's a productivity hack I learned from Erik. He will sometimes put on his to-do list, start this thing. Because if you put something huge, like, for example, for this season, if you say, like, do the taxes, like, that ends up being a whole bunch of little tasks all compiled into one. And it's like going to take some time and some effort to find all the different pieces. But if you say start the taxes, well, You can do that in 5 minutes.
Once you started, you get to cross that off on your list, and you've done what you said you would do. You started.
And the other hack is that just for whatever reason, the way our human brains are designed, once we start something, we're so much more likely to continue on,
To keep
and
going.
keep going. So,
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, right. Put the word start at the beginning of whatever it is you want to on your to-do list. And once you've begun, mission accomplished. So what we really hope for you is that you get the joy and the blessing and the benefit of having a high credibility score by either doing more of the things that you say you're going to do, being more judicious about what you commit yourself to do through your words, or just being tenacious and making the effort and recognizing for yourself, and hopefully with the benefit of other people's recognition, that the effort matters and that we're all in process and we're all striving towards the things that we want for ourselves and each other. And as we do that, and again, I think this is the best part of having a high credibility score, is that you will trust yourself more, other people will trust you more, and when you trust yourself more, the size of your dreams expands proportionately. And as you increase your own trust, you get to tackle and take on more and more cool, interesting dreams that will make your life richer and more satisfying and more fun, I think.
I agree with you. And the secret is, even if it's something very small that you commit to only yourself, you're going to do. When you keep those small promises to yourself, whether it's a daily habit or some other thing, that can expand your dreams exponentially.
Yeah, if you need a place to start and you're like, hey, how can I increase my credibility score? Start by brushing your teeth every day. If you are not doing that, start right there. And once you've started to brush your teeth every day, you'll say, I have a high credibility rate in this area.
I said I was going to do this. I did it.
What else? If I can do that, what else can I do? And then move on to another thing and another thing and another thing. And it can build from there. It can be as simple as tying your shoes or brushing your teeth every day. Or I guess, what if you wear slip-ons? God, I just don't. The metaphor breaks down.
Whatever that small thing is for you, but it's incredible how quickly that can grow when you keep your promises to yourself, and then you start to you can tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who does what I say I'm going to do, and then you keep giving yourself proof of that by either, like you said, being careful, judicious about what you commit to, or making sure you get it done, or that you're attempting. You're in the process.
That's everything I got. Anything
else?
Else?
Love it. I think when you do that, then your answer to this question is going to get so much bigger. And the question is,
what could go right? In unison. Boom. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.